I usually come up with titles for my segments. This is more of a description. It's like Robin Hood, except imagine Robin Hood was upper middle class, stealing from the rich and giving to the poor, which is what he considered himself to be.
And he only gave it to himself.
I'm going to be talking about the burglar bunch, which is more commonly known as the Bling Ring.
Did they really go by the burglar bunch?
That was what they were known as when they were burglar. And then once they were all caught and they realized who they were, they're like, the Bling Ring. And then, let's give them a reality show.
The burglar bunch. It sounds like the name of the cast of characters that are mascots for a restaurant.
For McDonald's, yeah. Like the Hamburglar and his friends, the burglar bunch. Yeah.
That must be exactly what I'm thinking of.
I saw into your soul, and you're so hungry right now. But you hate McDonald's, but you're thinking about McDonald's a little more.
I saw into your soul, and it's a golden arch.
So the whole story begins with two teenagers, Nick Prugo and Rachel Lee, who would meet in the fall of 2006 at Indian Hills High School in Agora Hills.
This is really recent.
Indian Hills High is an alternative school for at-risk students, which they both were. You kind of had to be a different kind of student to attend this school. Prugo came from a good family, but around the age 14, he was hit hard with anxiety and depression and was diagnosed with ADHD and put on medication. He spent a year away from Calabasas, which is where his family lived, and he went to Idaho with his family, but then he came back to attend.
People go to Idaho to cure their ADHD, just like people come here to cure their tuberculosis.
There's just so much.
How about you have absolutely nothing?
Can't focus on all distractions away from you.
It's just a void. Now we're putting down Idaho.
Yeah, like they listen.
Idaho. They have electricity.
Something. My own private Idaho. Okay, they go to Idaho and they come back about a year later. Come back to Calabasas.
Private school in Idaho.
Thank you. That's what I was looking for. So he came back and he attended Calabasas High School, whose most notable student was Eric Menendez.
We haven't seen the last of him today.
Odd.
Come on out, Eric.
Look who we bailed out of jail.
We're making an exception to the 6 feet rule just to give you a handshake, Eric Menendez. What's that?
What's that? You've been coughing for a week. What's that? The warden's sick and he wanted to hug you.
What's that? You want to kill my parents? Well,
like
all right. But they only have 4 Maseratis.
They'll pay for your tennis lessons. They don't have to kill them. They'll just do it. They're nice people. Calabasas.
Send him to Idaho, too. Everyone gets cured in Idaho.
There's no one to kill on.
You can't kill those who are already dead inside.
The Idaho Historical Society is going to come after us for this.
Let them.
So where was I? Calabasas High was not a good experience for someone dealing with anxiety, though. He was full of, the school had a lot of like really wealthy and hardworking kids who wanted to succeed.
Seems like a stressful situation.
Along with there was like also a population of the school that was like very status driven.
High school is scary social wise, but when everyone is high class social,
everyone's driving really nice cars to school, and that's a thing that matters. And also
they have the money to play that game.
And also there are like a lot of people connected to the film industry in different ways, and you probably are going to school with people who are also famous. Like when you are very self-conscious like Nick Prugo was, I'm sure it does not help you at all. So he, because of this, found himself ditching school a lot, and he'd like take any excuse to not go. Like he had like a pimple, he's like, I can't go to school, they're gonna see me, I can't go. Like he was so self-conscious.
It'll make me look poor.
Only poor people have pimples, you know that. You've seen witches in movies?
You see how they live?
So he was, of course, expelled, and he was sent to Indian Hills High School.
Where's that?
Agora Hills.
Agora Hills again.
Yeah.
Which is basically Calabasas.
It's basically, yeah. I think of Agora Hills as the boonies.
It is.
Okay, I'm glad. It's like the rich boonies, so it's like, don't go.
The Beverly Hill boonies.
So he went to Indian Hills High, like I just said, and then that's where he met someone who would change his life in a huge way. It was someone that he could not only relate to, but someone he almost idolized in Rachel Lee, who he was calling like the it girl. She was upper class, she was popular, she partied at clubs, she had loved high fashion, and she loved the lives of the rich and famous, which is great because so did Nick. Like he was so into style, which is a word he used a lot, and fashion and celebrity life. Like they were so ingrained in that.
These people suck.
Yeah, they're not. To do research for this, I was listening to the audiobook of the book about the Bling Ring, and I kept stopping it because I hated them, and then I would have to read about them, and I stopped because I hated them and I couldn't relate to anybody. And
it's called ADHD.
I might actually, I really do think I have ADHD, and I tell people and they laugh at me, but then I'll read a list of things that people with ADHD have. I'm like, me, that's me. But whatever. No one ever cares about me anyways.
But whatever, the health system broken.
Yeah, I can afford medication and therapy all of a sudden. I wrote a text message to you saying, I'm only going to do one segment because I cannot sit with these kids anymore. I hate them. There's not a good thing or interesting thing about the story. But then I remembered a story that you're going to be doing later, and I'm like, oh, but they're similar.
I have very similar people. Okay. And again, these people are similar to the Menendezes.
Yeah, which is they all looked
they were interesting.
What made them interesting?
Was it their turtlenecks?
Was it their bunk beds? Anyways, Rachel Lee, confident, stylish, was a good con person. When we talk about con, we mean confidence.
Yeah.
Like a con,
in the traditional sense.
In the traditional sense.
A good confident person.
A good confident confidence person.
You're a con person.
They both wanted to open their own lines, which is fine. And she had aspirations to go to FITM, which is the Fashion Institute of Design and
They
Merchandising.
both wanted to make their own fashion lines?
Yeah, they wanted to,
Okay.
they were really into fashion, which is
Alright.
the basic like core of this whole story.
Well, fashion is passion. So.
Fashion is passion. Thank you. They both wanted to go to FITM, which is the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising in downtown.
We say that as we're dressed like two divorced dads at spring training.
I'm wearing swimming trunks, my sailor button up, which is vintage, my Dodger hat. I look like Charlie Sheen in 2.5 Men.
You do.
And it boils my blood.
I look like
John Cryer.
I look like John Cryer in
Yeah.
2.5 Men. I'm wearing khakis,
Sandals.
sandals, a shirt that's barely a shirt. It's so thin.
Yeah.
I've been wearing when I'm just at home. I've been wearing all of my shirts that I never normally wear. That I'm too like,
Too
I can't wear
comfortable.
this one. No, too comfortable or just ripped or like, this one's kind of weird. I don't want people to see
I
me.
didn't
in it.
notice you were wearing your Sun Record shirt, which you've had since college. The color is running out of it.
Yeah, I've noticed
It was
that too.
gray, and now it's mostly white,
It's
unless you
not
wash it with
just-
bleach.
Well, look, we're all getting a little grayer, but it's not just that the gray is running out of it. The actual fabric is disappearing. I don't know where it's going, but like this shirt is losing like a centimeter every time I
And
wash
my
it.
skin around my shirt is getting stronger.
My shirt's getting less gray, but my skin is grayer than ever.
It's more stretchy. You're becoming Mr. Fantastic.
I
You're becoming
was going to
Richards.
say I've got instead of the Iron Man circle, mine is the Sun Record implanted on my chest.
You're Reed Richards. I'm everyone else. I'm Sue Storm, Johnny Storm, and Ben
And
Grimm.
Tony Soprano
And also
Ben
the
Grimm.
mailman. I forgot the mailman's name.
We all do. Thank your postal carrier.
Buy stamps.
Buy stamp bonds.
So she wants to go to FITM. The thing about FITM, the connection, it's not even a connection. A lot of the girls from The Hills, or like a couple of girls from the reality show The Hills, went to.
Okay. My cousin went to FITM actually.
It's
She's
cool.
from the hills.
It's a good school. I like it. A lot of people.
Yeah,
from
it's not
Trade
just
Tech.
bad. I mean, it's the fashion school to go to. In
It
LA.
really is.
Yeah.
I went to. I think they had like a Star Wars costuming exhibit.
Yeah,
there
they
once.
did,
I
and
think
I
they're like a
didn't go
full
to it.
X-wing in the parking lot or something.
It was just a jet fighter dressed like an X-wing.
Sexy.
Sex wing.
Stop right now. So Rachel Lee, she wore good clothes, and she wore them the way they were meant to be worn. You know what that like?
Not like how we dress.
Yeah, exactly. Like anybody can buy nice clothes, but like there's some people who
Yeah.
wear the clothes really well.
Yeah.
Rachel Lee wore the clothes.
We
really
button every single button.
Absolutely. Every single button that needs to be a button. Every pocket's upturned so I don't get mugged.
I swear I have nothing.
I match weird colors. I put
Yeah.
shoes with outfits that don't belong. You're wearing sandals. Like we both get it.
It's hot.
It's hot.
It's hot, baby.
It's hot.
It's hot, baby, and my wife left me.
Man. I wanted every time during the Me Too movement, every time a new celebrity male was exposed as being a scumbag, I wanted that effect.
Man. All right, go on.
Do I have to? We're having a good time. I'm going to ruin it by talking about these people. So she was fashionable, and she had a lot of confidence, and it showed. And it was like the kind of confidence that exuded, and it drove. She was like a magnet for
Yeah.
people. And like Nick, she too had been kicked out of Calabasas. I think I had read somewhere that she had been arrested for like a petty theft thing with her friend, but I couldn't tell when.
Who hasn't
it
in
was.
Calabasas?
Come on, you steal everything. Everything's for free when you're rich.
It's a right of. It's like prom.
Just don't get caught. It's like prom.
Just don't get caught, and if you do, tell them who your parents are.
My dad was a DP for the show.
For 2.5 Men.
Yeah. Oh, I love Ashton Kutcher.
We wish we looked like that era of 2.5 Men.
I know. So these two, Rachel Lee and Nick Prugo, became like best friends, and became best friends quick and really hard. They buddied up so fast. Like where you'd see Rachel, you'd find Nick. They would bond over like fashion and celebrities. She was a little more well off than he was, but her home life was, according to her, very tumultuous. Her parents divorced when she was young, and she hated her stepdad, which put her and her mom at odds. Nick seemed to have a better relationship with his parents, but his issues and his newfound confidence made him kind of hard to communicate with in the household. So like all the communication in their house broke down. So Nick and Rachel were really there for each other. They would hang out at her place and watch reality shows. They love watching The Hills, which apparently
They knew them.
Yeah, don't we all? They'd sit around. They'd go on style websites. They'd check out fashion stuff. They were obsessed. But aside from that, they went to parties, which apparently were like every other night. And he became friends with her friends. Through her, he met her longtime friend Courtney Ames, which was she wasn't like a well-off fashionista, but she was like a tough girl. Everyone described her as tough.
Like the bad girl of
Kind of like
fashion.
the bad girl. Like she was friends with Rachel because they'd known each other for a long time, but it felt like other than partying, they weren't like connecting the way Nick and Rachel were. I forgot what story I heard about her. Maybe that she had like bullied people, or she was kind of like a fighter, but like she was known around as friends as like
She picked on people
Rough
smaller
around
than
the
her. She was really tough.
she was really yeah, she's strong. They got to know her boyfriend. Courtney's boyfriend was Johnny Ajar, or as he was known to them, Johnny Dangerous.
Johnny Ajar is already kind of a cool nickname.
Yeah, I know. Why would you ruin that?
Johnny Ajar, like a door with a Persian rug stuck through it.
Try to close it. I want to close it so bad. This kid keeps coughing on me.
Please buy my rug.
Also, in this circle,
Buy my house. That was him as an adult.
I threw a house in their small apartment. Please buy my house.
The sucker buses drove straight into a tuberculosis ward. You want to get out of this tuberculosis ward? Buy a house.
Oh, they're getting closer.
Tied to ropes.
Help us.
Buy real estate. Buy.
So also in their circle was the student body president of Indian Hills High, Diana Tamayo. Her distinction was that she lived in one of the few apartment buildings in Calabasas. Oh, she's poor. She's a
she had a whole apartment building to herself.
At another party, he becomes friends with Tess Taylor, who would go on to become a Playboy playmate. And through her, they met Alexis Nyers, the homeschooled prissy girl who had a former playmate as a mother and a former DP of Friends for her father. They'd all do high school stuff. They'd go drinking. They'd get high. They'd party.
That's like, I feel like in the mythical retelling of how Calabasas was created, it was like mother playmate.
Oh, yeah.
Mated with father DP of Friends, and Calabasas was birthed.
She's like the quintessential, Alexis Nyers out of everybody is the quintessential Valley girl. Like the kind they invented in the 80s.
Right. Is Calabasas part of the Valley? Because in essence, it really is. And by geography, it kind of is too. Yeah. It's a little out there, though.
Having lived in the Valley and knowing you and doing research on the Valley,
I'm going to say, yeah, you're a bad person.
Yeah, you don't deserve to like have opinions about anything. The Valley is made up of different demographics, obviously, and it's a big bowl. And Calabasas, along with Pacific Palisades, is like the most coveted places to live probably in the city by wealthy people. And like anybody who didn't grow up in the ghetto. Like I'm fine.
Which brings us to your childhood.
Exactly. What I'm saying is people around me don't want to live in Pacific Palisades. Wealthy people, rich people are like, they've made it if they live in Calabasas. Yeah. So like Calabasas is part of the Valley, but is also the city on the hill of the Valley.
It's like the handle of the bowl of the Valley.
It's the handle of the bowl, yeah.
How boring how boring and far away it is to live in Calabasas, which makes sense. All the stuff that's coming out of Calabasas, all of the people that have come out of it.
I don't like stopping there for gas. You know what I mean? Like it's
because the gas is twice the price.
Yeah, you have to literally.
I'll be in Agora Hills filling up my tank.
It's like one pump. A guy lives in the gas station.
Well, are we talking about Midnight Cowboy again?
You're obsessed. You're talking about Sopranos. You're talking more about Midnight Cowboy than you are Sopranos. So Alexis Nyers, they meet through Tess Taylor, and she becomes part of their group. They don't all. I don't think they all go to the same high school, but they're all like friends because they all partied together.
They're all DP of Friends.
They're all DP. Yeah, exactly. Like I was saying, they do high school stuff together. They party almost every night. They drink. They get high. They're just being what the Case File podcast would call them, young and carefree, which she says about any girl who's about to die. She was young and carefree. They go to the beach. They were known for hanging out at Zuma Beach near Lifeguard Station 7.
That was my beach growing up.
Was it really?
Yeah. Whenever we would have like a camp or something like that, like we're going to the beach, it was always Zuma Beach. Always Zuma Beach.
Yeah. What is it about Zuma Beach that everyone...
I think there's parking.
Oh, okay. That could be
like you could park a bus full of kids at Zuma Beach.
That's
or
fair.
Your family at Zuma Beach.
That's fair. Yeah. I think growing up, Santa Monica right next to the pier was... I remember I have like so many memories of being right next to...
The dirtiest part of
the dirtiest
coastline.
Part. The nastiest part of it. So Nick was happy for the first time in years. He felt like he belonged. He found... You know how important it is when you find your people. And he found finally his people. No, maybe not you, but me. That's so essential to fighting feelings of anxiety and depression. Not the cure-all, but like when you feel lost and then you find people that make you feel like you're you, it makes you feel good. Like
you wouldn't know.
I'm talking to the car. I'm not really talking to you. You wouldn't know. You can't connect to anybody.
The car has a better connection to people than you do.
So he would do anything to protect his feeling. And the way he looked at it, he owed all of this to Rachel Lee, his best friend. He'd do anything for her. And in 2008...
He was young and carefree.
He was, young and car-free. It's an Australian podcast. He would do
Is
anything.
It really?
Yeah.
Oh my God, of course
young
it is.
And car-free. Okay, he'd do anything for Rachel Lee. And in 2008, she was about to ask him to. Let's go back to the summer of 2007. The summer after 10th grade, Rachel and Nick are talking, and she lets it be known that she's previously robbed a house while the people were gone, and she stole cash. No red flags there. Totally cool. Then she asked him, do you know anybody who's out of town? As a matter of fact, he did.
Wait, this was the same conversation?
Yeah, the same conversation.
And he did put it together? Like, hey, I really like killing people. Do you have soft skin?
Do you know anybody who, like, no one will know is missing for a couple days?
Yeah.
So she asked him, do you know anyone who's out of town? And he's like, yeah, this guy that I talked to on MySpace was leaving town with his family. And he knew where the guy lived.
His name's Tom.
He knew where the guy lived in Woodland Hills. So they went to this guy's house. It was Gerard, yeah. They went went to the city of Girard, and they parked on a nearby street and walked up to the house with absolute confidence, not like turning their heads. They just walked up straight up to this house. They rang the doorbell to make sure no one answered, and then they just started trying doors. And if a neighbor sees them, just play young. I'm young and oblivious to what's normal. I lock keys in there. Oh no, my friend from MySpace lives here. He said he'd be here, but no one's answering. I'm looking for unlocked doors.
It's a student film.
They find an unlocked door. This was Rachel's method because her belief was that there's always a way in. For a person in the mid-teens, she was like Richard Ramirez style, good at getting into houses.
Richard Ramirez.
Yeah, Rich
Ramirez. Richard Ramirez.
She knew that affluent people were careless. They moved away from bad areas of the city to be surrounded by beauty and peace just means carelessness. So it's going to be easy to get into someone's house. So they entered this family's home, and right away, Nick is terrified. He's freaking out, shaking in place, trying to convince Rachel to leave. But these moments in other people's homes is her time to shine. This is really her and her element when she's in other people's houses. They rummage, and they're able to find a shoebox with $8,000 in cash. And Nick shuts up real quick because that's
such a Calabasas or a Woodland Hill or rich person household.
Yeah, $8,000 in cash in a shoebox under a bed. So they split it evenly, and all of a sudden he has $4,000 in cash, and he justifies this. It wasn't murder. No one's dead. It wasn't that bad. Along with all this, he's
where'd the shoes go?
You're gonna wear $8,000 on your feet? I don't understand. He let himself off the hook because like, I'm doing whatever I need to do to secure my friendship with Rachel. I'm not gonna ruin it. I'm not gonna rock the boat. And I got $4,000 doing it, and that's all the justification that he needed. So they go back the next night and they take the guy's car, his Infiniti, for a spin. They drive the Rodeo Drive. Keep doing that.
Rodeo or Rodeo?
Rodeo.
Because these are two different storylines then.
They drove to Rodeo Drive. They drove to Rodeo Drive.
Rodeo, just like cowboys that operate at a certain
time of day. What time were they there?
At Zero Dark. Zero Dark Cowboy.
Sounds like a Western. It's not.
It sounds like a military movie. Kind of. Aspects of the military.
There's a lot of men.
Men.
So they steal this guy's car for a night. They go for a joyride. They go to Rodeo Drive, and they spend all the money they stole from the guy's house and then take the car back. After this, they really get into it. Now a nightly task of testing for unlocked doors on parked cars in rich neighborhoods. I believe the Manson family called it creepy crawling. They do that thing that terrifies me when people just walk up to cars along an avenue and they're just trying for unlocked doors, and they'll find credit cards and then they'll just go shopping. If not shopping, Nick was trying to sustain his newfound cocaine habit. So now this is them. They're robbing houses and cars, partying with their inner circle friends, obsessing over high fashion and culture and reality shows and the lives of the rich and famous, and all of this, their lives, their obsessions, the way they're making money now, all comes to a head in October of 2008. The obsession over celebrities and social media begins to blend perfectly into celebrity surveillance. Oh, I'm following the celebrity online and I see that they're partying in Cabo. Well, if I'm a thief, that knowledge comes with the understanding that means that they aren't home. Well, I don't know how to find these celebrities. Not a big deal because the internet does. There are paid and unpaid websites all over the internet that not only benefit stalkers and paparazzi, they benefit high school thieves. And because Rachel is obsessed with celebrities, her envy of their fashion and privilege, she decides she's tired of just wanting the clothes of her idols. She's going to have them. So their first celebrity target is chosen because it's the dumbest person they could think of.
Let me try to think. A celebrity in 2008.
Yeah, the biggest celebrity in 2008.
I think I know this. I'm going to say it's Kim Kardashian.
Not yet. It was the person that brought Kim in.
Paris Hilton?
Paris Hilton.
Okay.
So they decide they're going to rob the home of Paris Hilton because she's dumb. So they found her.
Because we think we know her and she seems dumb.
This multimillionaire seems pretty dumb.
Right. We've seen her personality on TV.
On TV.
She must be dumb.
On a scripted reality show, she must be dumb.
TV doesn't lie because this is the early ages of reality TV.
And I'm a high school.
Don't know that yet. Yeah.
They find her address online and she lives in the Hollywood Hills, and they knew that she was out of town and that she was dumb, so she probably left a door unlocked. She didn't leave a door unlocked.
She probably left all her money on the front lawn.
She didn't leave a door unlocked, but she did leave a key under a mat.
Like the front mat?
Yeah, the front mat. I have a key under a mat, but which mat?
Don't look under here?
Yeah, exactly. It was a key that made a sound if it got too close to it. So they go in, and part of Nick is thinking, wow, I'm in Paris Hilton's house right now. And the other part of him is thinking, wow, I got to get out of Paris Hilton's house right now.
So there weren't security cameras or anything like that?
I think every house had a security camera. I don't think that... We'll get to it. He is once again terrified to be doing this. He is stuck on lookout duties at the top of the stairs, sweating bullets, urging Lee to hurry up. Rachel was rummaging like she was at a store. She took Paris's expensive bras and designer dresses. They found in her purse crumpled up $50 bills, $100 bills, and they took them along with just bottles of vodka. Their idea was that Paris Hilton has so much, if she was missing minor things, she wouldn't notice. Oh, she's here right now.
She lost so much, she now rummages through the dumpster.
She's just trying to get by.
You always wonder what happened to Paris Hilton.
You want me to talk to her? Yeah, sure. Paris. They were taking stuff that was too small for her to notice, and she didn't notice, or at least didn't report it. This wouldn't be the last time they hit her home. They'd make multiple trips to her place, one time finding 5 grams of cocaine, snorting it, and then leaving. Around this time, they started getting people from their friends group involved, which included student body president Diana Tamayo and Courtney Ames, who...
Even the student body president is involved in this?
Yeah. The girl, Courtney Ames, the tough girl, she started coming along for these jobs too, and she brought a guy named Roy Lopez who worked with her at Sagebrush Cantina in Calabasas. That time, in December of 2008, when they went to Paris Hilton's house, they stole $2 million worth of jewelry stuffed into Louis Vuitton bags.
Which in its own is worth like another million, probably.
Yeah. I read this on the crimemuseum.org website. They burglarized Hilton so many times that Lee reportedly added Hilton's spare key to her own keychain.
How did she not know this was happening?
They were taking such small things. I think the one in December,
like,
the
again,
jewelry one, that's the one that she reported.
But there's no like security camera or anything.
I don't think that she had security. Like they get caught on other people's security footage and get away with it. But I don't think Hilton had that.
I guess it was sort of early days.
Yeah.
People weren't as paranoid then.
I don't see it as like she's the only person getting hit ever. But like on this string that the Bling Ring was doing, people later will learn that they were robbing homes of celebrities. But I think Paris was like, oh, they would never do that. Nobody knows I live here. I think it was too early on to really get an idea of it. But people have been robbing houses forever. So they've been robbing her house for months now. And then they would go to school or go hang out at parties and tell everyone, I'm wearing Paris Hilton's clothes. And no one seemed like they cared.
I'm wearing Paris Hilton's bra.
Look at it. And nobody seemed to care. No, or like if they cared, they kind of thought it was like weird and desperate, or that they were lying. Like it was
desperate.
Rich kids stealing clothes from Paris Hilton and wearing them at a party and telling everybody about it. Was
they probably looked down on them for wearing secondhand clothes.
The most expensive thrift store. They only had to commit a crime to get them. By 2009, the robberies went full scale. Using the same methods, they continue researching celebrities' clothing and whereabouts and would strike them. In no particular order, they robbed the homes of Audrina Partridge from the Hills, stealing about $43,000 worth of her stuff and even getting on camera, although they kept their faces just out of sight. No face, no case. The footage played on the news, and Nick was freaking out, but Rachel was a beacon of criminal confidence and didn't sweat it. They got away with that one. They robbed the house of Rachel Bilson, stealing about $30,000 worth of property. They were so calm and collected by this point, they were using the bathroom mid-heist. Well, I believe the words were bowel movement. They kept the bowels open.
Keep your bowel. They were just trying to stay healthy.
Gotta beat the virus.
The virus being poverty.
Upper middle class poverty. Can you imagine? They robbed her house 6 times and eventually selling items from her house.
Yeah, I was going to say, okay, so that's what they're doing with all this?
They're pretty much selling everything that they don't want to keep themselves. Right. And then they had a fence, which might have been the Roy Lopez guy, but he didn't know what to do with it.
I learned that in The Sopranos.
I'm glad you're learning.
You fence an item.
You
whack a person.
That dude is made. He's untouchable.
You get rid of a body.
Mm-hmm. You go to therapy and express your feelings.
You eat lasagna.
This doesn't have to go in the episode, but my dad doesn't know, like he doesn't have a hang on pasta. I'm trying to say, because I bought penne pasta, which is pee pasta. And I'm like, it's like pasta. I'm like, it's like spaghetti, but it's not the strands of hair. It's just like, and he's like, is it like lasagna? I'm like, no. It's like spaghetti, but not spaghetti. It's like a different shape. He's like, I don't get it. I'm like, okay. And like he kept like, so it's like ravioli. I'm like, no, what are you talking about?
Is it still Italian?
And like every couple minutes, I guess I don't know pasta. You clearly don't. You clearly don't understand pasta.
Man.
So in July of that year, Nick, Rachel, Diana, and Alexis robbed the house of Orlando Bloom and Miranda Kerr. Miranda Kerr was the real target. Yeah. Alexis was caught on camera here, but it led nowhere. They stole $500,000 worth of items from their home, included a collection of Rolexes. In August, Rachel, Nick, Diana robbed the house of Megan Fox and her husband, former 90210 actor Brian Austin Green, who, by the way, I saw at Staples one time. Super dad. I never respected that guy before, but he came in. He had a newborn baby in his arm. He was holding the hand of his son, and then he had I think he bought I remember it being big, hoisted it over his shoulder, held it with his neck to his shoulder, and I was like, I can get someone to walk your car. No, I got it. And I think he was holding the hand of his son in his underarm, carrying a stroller because the kid didn't want to go in a stroller. I did the sign of the cross. I was like, you're a powerful man.
The 90210 theme song played as he walked to his car.
That's another thing that they were talking about in the book, the Bling Ring book, is that they're robbing from 90210 was a show about rich kids. Rachel Bilson was in the OC about rich kids, and then they're robbing reality stars. Reality shows about rich kids. And they're also rich kids.
They probably would only watch those shows because they're like, what am I going to watch, Sanford and Son?
Megan Fox made the mistake of making good fashion choices on TV and became a target. It is basically how you became a target by them. If they saw something that they wanted and you were wearing at an award show, they're like, okay, when you leave town, that's going to be mine.
Wow. This is very Calabasas.
It is very Calabasas. It's so lame. They were apparently foiled trying to rob Ashley Tisdale when a cleaning lady answered the door when they tried to ring the doorbell. And then they went for the white whale, Rachel's icon. Do you want to take a guess? 2009.
Is it Kim Kardashian now?
No. Kim Kardashian doesn't happen for years later.
The white whale is not Paris Hilton.
No.
Who's bigger than Paris Hilton? Nicole Richie?
Clearly not. If you watched the show.
I don't know. Charlie Sheen?
Lindsay Lohan.
Oh, yes, of course.
The white whale.
whale.
They sold $130,000 worth of Lohan's clothes. On this job, though, the big one, security footage would lead somewhere.
Okay.
Feeling the heat from the released footage, because they released the footage on the news, and it's like pretty clear that you can see faces, and I think people are like, oh, they're really young, because all the other footage was like back ends, and sometimes you see like, because Alexis looks like she could be any age, like she looks like she could be in high school, she looks like she could be a preteen, she looks like she could be 24, but look like that's the thing with Alexis Nyers. But like when they saw all the other crew, they're like, oh, they're all baby faced, they're all like little kids. So feeling
Thank
the heat
God for Lindsay Lohan's high quality surveillance cameras.
yeah, she must have had like a 35 millimeter above the door, rolling loud footage. Yeah, it was 24 frames.
All the other houses had like a kineograph when you walk in. They had a security guard cranking the camera.
They had an old animator drawing everything. You're moving too fast. Feeling the heat from the released footage, Rachel Lee moved to Vegas to be with her dad. She got rid of most of the stolen items, but still wasn't sure. Soon after the footage was released, and one of the many tip callers, because there were a lot of callers, led to Nick Prugo, who outright denied the allegations. But his anxiety and the beating Tiffany brand heart necklace under the floorboards kept pounding. And after a couple of nights of not sleeping or eating, he confessed to the police that he had been robbing the homes of the celebrities. Not just Lohan's house, which is what they called him for. He confessed to all of them.
Gucci, Gucci, Gucci. Gucci.
No, the iPod. The iPod in the man's face. After that, they got search warrants and brought in Diana Tamayo, Courtney Ames, Roy Lopez, and Alexis Nyers. They also arrested Courtney's boyfriend, Johnny Dangerous, who helped with some of the crimes. But they arrested
Johnny
him,
Ajar?
Johnny Ajar, yeah. But they arrested him on drug possession, possession of a firearm.
Rug possession? Are we talking about the Persian rug thing again?
We might be talking about Persian rug, yeah. Drug possession of a firearm, and possession of ammunition. Police found much of the stolen items still in the possession of the Bling Ring crew, but it wasn't damning enough. What was, though, social media profiles with photos of them wearing all of the stolen clothes. That really nailed them. There was even a photo.
It's so weird that they have like an understanding of social media and the internet enough to know like, okay, this person's there, this is where their house is, so they're not there. But then to then be like, well, I can post whatever I want.
I'm untouchable. Yeah. I'm clearly not Paris Hilton. No one's looking at my profile.
Yeah, certainly not the police.
There was even a photo of Rachel Lee inside of Paris Hilton's home, which is pretty damning. So they arrested Rachel Lee in Vegas. When they were caught, they found a list of upcoming targets: Miley Cyrus, Zac Efron, Hilary Duff, and Vanessa Hudgens. Like, they were only robbing. Miley Cyrus was on the show about getting famous or being a famous star. Zac Efron, Vanessa Hudgens were in a High School Musical, which is about being famous.
Yeah.
And I don't know what Hilary Duff was. Probably another thing.
Wasn't she not Thin Lizzy?
She was in Thin Lizzy. Lizzie McGuire.
Lizzie McGuire.
I don't remember what Lizzie McGuire was about that.
It's about Thin Lizzy.
So Nick and Rachel, along with Roy Lopez, pleaded no contest and served half their meager jail time. Courtney Ames had her charges dismissed after the main investigator, Detective Rhett Goodkin, appeared in the film version of the events, Sofia Coppola's The Bling Ring, and it was seen as a conflict of interest. So she did community service and she got 3 years of probation. Apparently this goes for most of the Bling Ring. They all have light sentences. It's because the detective was in the movie. It's a conflict of interest, and now they're like, well, how can you take any of this seriously?
Oh my God.
So funny, right?
Well, you can either go to jail or you can sell me the rights.
And what a perfect end to such a Hollywood Calabasas celebrity.
Yeah, and it makes perfect sense.
Diana Tamayo, who was at one point wearing outfits made up entirely of stolen clothes, she pleaded no contest and did community service for her crimes. She said that the police threatened her family with immigration consequences during questioning. I think
they could have showed up to court in Lindsay Lohan's jumpsuit.
Imagine.
Zing ring.
Alexis Nyers originally pleaded not guilty, saying that when she was with the crew caught on camera, she was drunk and partying and didn't know that they were robbing a house. A week before
I was just doing illegal drugs.
I was just full of cocaine, driving drunk. What's the big deal? She says, I wasn't guilty. I didn't know what they were doing. I was drunk. A week before her arraignment, was famously quoted as saying, gosh darn it. Okay, here we go. Alexis Nyers was on the news or whatever saying, I'm a firm believer in karma. And I think this situation was attracted into my life because it was supposed to be a huge learning lesson for me to grow and expand as a spiritual human being. I see myself being like an Angelina Jolie, but even stronger, pushing even harder for the universe and for peace and for the health of our planet. God didn't give me these talents and looks to just sit around being a model or being famous. I want to lead a huge charity organization. I want to lead a country for all I know.
First of all, Angelina Jolie, daughter of John Voight. Second of all,
known pornographer.
that's the Calabasas.
That's the motto of the city.
Yeah, I'm the victim here, and it's going to
Exactly.
make me stronger.
I'm the Martin Luther King of these petty
Calabasas.
crimes. I heard her say it. I heard Emma Watson say part of it in the trailer. I didn't watch the movie because I couldn't sit through it. And having to type the words made me even dumber than I already was. A pretty dumb guy. She changed her plea to no contest when she found out that Orlando Bloom was willing to testify against her in court. So she did 6 months jail time, 3 years probation, and has to pay Legolas $600,000 back. During this,
Is Lego less $600,000?
What?
Lego less in
Got
his
it.
pocket.
Got it. I thought this is what you were going for, but I wanted to make sure.
No, hang on. Gimli a minute.
No.
Greg, do you get that?
I-
Hang on. Do you get
unfortunately, I get it.
Have you been rewatching all the Lord of the Rings movies?
I
in
would never
quarantine?
do that.
Why would I do that? I could watch like 9 Sopranos episodes during that time.
I've watched all the MCU in different orders to see if there's a different meaning I can take from it.
This time I'm going to start with Anthony. I was going to try to say Ant-Man.
Ant-Man in the movie names his favorite Aunt Antony, and then the second one.
See, you like that and you don't like the Gimli thing
absolutely not.
I just said? This is a status thing. I always knew it.
In the second one, he names his favorite aunt Ulysses S. Grant.
And these are popular movies.
I mean, I thought so, but I bring them up to people, and they don't want to talk about them, and they don't enjoy them, including you.
Ant.
There you go. Hey, you got it. Did you write Ant-Man too? Ant-Man and the Wasp?
Yeah, I wrote Ant-Man 3 Raid.
Raid? So during all this, Nayar's got her own reality show. Actually, she shared it with her sisters, and it was called Pretty Wild. People who like trash TV love it. She served her time at Century Regional Detention Facility in Linwood and was there at the same time as Lindsay Lohan. She said this: "I heard Lindsay crying, but I wasn't near her." That's so sad.
That is sad, but I thought there would be some sort of like PE yard. What is
Oh
it
my
called?
God, the yard?
The yard.
Yeah.
Some sort of confrontation in the yard.
The yard.
Which is where you go to crack skulls. That I've learned this lingo.
You have a spork that you had a keister.
What they call
you
a
shaved
shiv.
It down, a shiv, and it's wrapped in. You peed on a rag, so when you stab somebody, you stick somebody, they get infected with your urine.
Which is how you, what they call, join the Aryan Brotherhood.
There's no money in jail, but there is certain things you do that serve as,
It's as good as gold.
what do you call it when you pay fees?
When you kick up.
When you kick up. Initiation fee. After all of this, there was a big write-up in Vanity Fair by Nancy Jo Sales, The Suspect Wore Louis Vuittons, which is spelled funny. From the Vanity Fair article came a fictionalized movie for the events from Sofia Coppola in 2013 starring Emma Watson. After the movie...
Finest movie since Godfather 3.
It's like so perfect. After the movie, Nancy Jo Sales wrote the book about the crime spree, The Bling Ring, how a gang of fame-obsessed teens ripped off Hollywood and shocked the world. Most of the Bling Ring crew are just trying to move past all of that. Rachel Lee is trying to live a quiet life. She's
Oh,
finished...
yeah, that's weird. They're like our age.
Yeah.
My age. You're more along the lines of Victor Gerard, but these people are like my age pretty much.
Yeah, they're just trying to do what you're doing, live a quiet life and not be famous at all.
Just
and
recording their podcast in a carport.
in a carport and not telling their parents about it. Rachel Lee finished cosmetology school. She's trying to write a screenplay now, not unlike you at all. Not like any of us. In 2017, she was at a bar and she ran into Emma Watson and introduced herself to her. I think that she introduced herself to Emma Watson like, "Hi, big fan. You made a movie about me. I'm Rachel Lee." And I think Emma Watson was like, "It's so nice to meet you." But like British curly hair. You've seen it.
It's boggy woggle to woogie wog. You.
This stupid country almost took over the world a bunch of times.
And not to mention their subjects down in Australia and Idaho.
Many of the others in the whole thing are just trying to keep out of spotlight. Nick Prugo consulted on the movie and did some interviews. For the most part, it's just trying to stay out of live out of his infamy. All of this fame eating fame is so incestuous.
Fame
and the movie
robbing
and the
fame.
book are trying to hammer home like what's wrong with these kids today, and they need to be rich and famous, and the kids and their social media. But it's always been like this. Like, first of all, more than young people being obsessed with fame and money, the older generation is obsessed with talking about young people and their obsession with fame. Like, it's crazy. Like, I feel like I hear more about that than I
They're
see
going to start
that.
robbing us of our clothes and dressing like us.
Like, I just don't think that that's as true as people are saying. Like, so many older people are like, nobody wants to be a doctor. There's still doctors and scientists. And there's always been people
Well, people were always crazy. I'm thinking of the guy who would go around and got autographs of every single celebrity in Hollywood. People have always been crazy.
And like celebrity obsession, look at the OJ trial. Think of how many sideline players wrote books and made money off of that. Like, look at Kim Kardashian, former underling to
Now
Paris
we're
Hilton,
getting
got
to
rich and famous after a sex tape emerged. Her dad famously on the OJ Dream Team. Like, it's so incestuous, and Tanya Harding is infinitely more famous than Nancy Kerrigan. All About Eve is about celebrity obsession. It's not a new thing, and I'm tired of...
Think of during the quarantine, they had to explicitly say you can't all gather around to watch a movie being filmed.
Exactly. Like it's always like it's not a new thing. Kids wanting to be famous. Like how many garage bands started after the Beatles? I don't know.
What you're saying is you want to make a new Bling Ring.
Let's rob other podcasts. Let's go to
Joe Rogan's house.
Can we?
We can wear his CrossFit brand
His
jock
cargo
straps.
shorts, yeah. The weird thing about this story, where all the commenters and the people say how disgusting youth is becoming, the weird thing that is weird about this,
well, it's pretty weird,
is that it's reality stars get famous, they get robbed by people who idolize them, and then those people become famous.
Mm-hmm.
Like US Weekly has an article like the Bling Ring, where are they now? Like,
isn't it just Us Weekly?
it is Us Weekly. I put US because it's also US Weekly. They wrote a whole thing on like Bling Ring, where are they now? And we could say ill gross. Remember, the guy who shot Jesse James also got famous. This is a very old problem.
The coward Robert Ford?
The coward Robert Ford. It's a stupid story filled with stupid people that are not interesting at all.
It's a tale as old as time.
Exactly. And then like the older generation is looking at it like, look how bad the kids are. Like shut up.
I'm sure
that's my lesson.
There must have been
shut up.
Yeah, there must have been somebody who was like, I'm going to sneak into Greta Garbo's house. I'm going to
steal her lipstick that I saw her wear.
Yeah. I saw her on the newsreel and she was wearing lipstick that I want. How about we take this back into the past?
Can we please?
To a simpler time, like the old people like.
That they always try to get back to, no matter
how much people were oppressed.
Yeah, no matter how much it refuses to accept evolution.